Good morning, Kansas City. Welcome to Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. I'm your humble host, Kevin Keatsman, also known as Podboy, host of the Kevin Keatsman Has Issues podcast. Everywhere I go, I was at Quick Trip yesterday right after the show, getting an iced tea on the way home, and a guy says, I was just listening to you on the radio. And I said, well, thank you very much, sir. He goes, you need to do 2 more hours. I said, I do a podcast every day. Go play it. He says, I don't really listen to podcasts, which is kind of weird. We have the podcast audience, we have the radio audience, and apparently there's not much crossover. But if you'd like what you hear and you ever want to hear more, there's a podcast every day called Kevin Keatsman Has Issues, so give it a listen sometime. We got some fun coming up today on the show, including if you think the stadium issue in Kansas City has been wild. Oh, boy. Wait until you hear the one that's going on in Boston. It is a stadium issue for a women's soccer team, and it's the centerpiece of a mayoral election. Michelle Wu's running for re-election, and you won't believe who's running against her. You'll recognize the name and what this man is doing, who's a conservative, wanting to be the mayor of Boston, about a $172 million stadium boondoggle for a women's soccer team and how that is involved in the stadium issues in Boston. Yeah, we got nothing on Boston. But I'm going to tell you right now, this is As the World Turns. We'll do that in 30 minutes. It will be something else. We'll also talk a little bit about the lawsuit that Ramsey Robinson has filed against the Chiefs. Pete Mundo mentioned that about a half an hour ago. It's a wrongful discharge because of race lawsuit. And there will be a lot of people with a lot of thoughts on this one, including yours truly, and we'll share those with you as well. Oh, some folks in Gladstone aren't happy. There's a new fireworks sales location. They're a Pyro City near Gladstone, but across the street from Gladstone. Oh, it's caused major confusion because you can't sell them in Gladstone. You can't shoot them in Gladstone. But 50 feet across the street, there they are. We'll get into that on the show as well. But we will start with the news of the morning today, and that is Donald Trump, the master of the pivot. If he's nothing, if he's not a masterful marketer on everything that he does. Let's do a quick count of what's happened in the last week pertaining to Iran. Trump went to the Kennedy Center to see Les Mis in a tuxedo, acting like, oh, the world's a great place, nothing's going on, whatever. And they bombed him. Israel bombed him. The U.S. helped coordinate. Certainly the CIA was involved in our military in strategic targeting and intel and all these different things. And then he makes a big deal about leaving Canada after he gets all his work done in one day. The bottom line was this: Trump did not want to stick around for a night and spend the night there and stay and do whatever it is they were going to do because he was done with his business. And so then he puts the post up that's not cryptic in any way. It's, if you're in Tehran, Iran, get out. Leave now. Like, he's flying back to the White House to bomb you. He had no such intention. He told everybody he was going to meet in the Situation Room with all the most important people, and he said, I'll meet you there at between 1:30 and 3 a.m. Well, he didn't do that. They met the next day. Trump got back very late. They met the next day. We used to talk about this in sports a lot. I would never call coaches liars unless it was about a news story. If it was, did your player get a DUI? Did somebody get in trouble? Did this happen? It was stuff like that, then you can be a liar. If it's about what you're doing as a coach, you're not lying. And Donald Trump is a master at the shell game. That's really what he does. He plays a shell game every single day with the media. And at this point, he's doing it with the entire world. He's a puppet master. And so today, what does he do? We've been waiting 2 nights for all hell to break loose. We thought 2 nights ago Trump was going to bomb Iran, or at least targets of uranium enrichment. Then last night, Iran puts a tweet out or posts out of a little miniature nuclear bomb in a guy's hand. And then they say, what's going to happen tonight, nobody will see coming and will make history for centuries to come. And nothing happened. So what we have here is a stalemate. And it's pretty obvious. Iran is terrified to try to lob anything at a U.S. base for the Air Force or any military installation. They will not. I can't even imagine in a million years they would shoot first, because then Trump has license to just devastate, just overwhelm Iran at that point in a 48-hour assault of every single target they could possibly think of and completely cripple the entire country. And Trump clearly doesn't want to shoot first. And at this point, he doesn't want to be involved in the bunker buster. It would be easy to send our stealth bombers up there, way above anything Iran can touch, and drop 4 or 5 of these things that go 200 feet into the ground before they explode and blow up that site in northern Iran. It would be easy to do that, and he hasn't done it. Why hasn't he done it? Well, he really doesn't want to start something. People in his own party are panicked that he's not America first. I'm done with Trump. We've heard literally people that supported him 6 months ago say, I'm done with Trump. He's no longer America first. Really? Well, has he fired a shot? Has he done anything? It's almost like Republicans are starting to get Trump derangement syndrome and they don't know their own guy. This is what he does. He hasn't pulled a trigger. He hasn't ordered a thing. He's demanding unconditional surrender because, of course, he is. He would love it if they unconditionally surrendered without firing a shot. It would be the greatest military move in the history of the United States. You got a country that is your sworn enemy for 50 years saying death to America, that is on the verge of having a nuclear bomb, surrendering without you firing a shot. Yeah, you just got put on Mount Rushmore. That's what he wants. He wants to do it without fighting. He doesn't even want to fly our planes over, but they're there. And our defensive posture right now is phenomenal. It takes a few days. You can't just start moving Navy ships and tanker jets, refueling jets, and be ready to go. You stock up. You get everybody in the region. And if he's going to do something, maybe he will. He says he thinks it'll be over in a week. Well, I don't know that. We could be talking about this in 6 months because I don't think Trump wants to fire a shot. And I don't blame him. I don't think Iran is a huge threat to us right now. They're a huge threat to Israel, and they're still bombing, but they're not successful at what they're doing. They had almost no success overnight. It is said that half their launchers are blown up. They have thousands of missiles, but they don't have any way to send them up in the air. Israel has targeted the launchers, not the missiles, the launchers. We don't care if you have missiles. If you can't fire them in the air, they're no danger to anybody. Half the rocket launchers in Iran are gone. Israel did in 48 hours what Russia has not done in 3 years to Ukraine. They have taken over the airspace in 48 hours. Why do they need American help at this point? Whatever we've done so far, Trump masterfully isn't being attacked for doing. Like, Iran doesn't seem to be blaming us for how good Israel is at this. Maybe they should be, but that really hasn't connected. Iran's saying, don't fire on us, and it's pretty clear they're not firing on the U.S. So what does Trump do today when he goes out onto the White House lawn? They're digging 2 holes and putting in 100-foot flagpoles. And he says, I can't believe we've been here 250 years and we don't have glorious flagpoles at the White House. We're going to put these flagpoles in today. Look at these big, beautiful pieces of machinery. And look at these great American workers behind me. And these are going to be the biggest, best flags ever. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. He's barely talking about Iran. What he says about Iran is repetitive of what he said yesterday and the day before. There is no new Iran news from his appearance in front of the media. And they start asking questions. And how does Trump pivot? Because he is such a master. It turns into hate for Jerome Powell, the Fed director, Fed chairman. The Fed's meeting later today, and Trump says, you heard it right at the top of the hour in the news. He's not a smart person, Trump said of Jerome Powell, and he hates me, but he should, because I've called him every name in the book trying to get him to lower interest rates. Trump then educates the American people. And if the media does their job, and I'm doing mine, this is the important part of Trump putting up flagpoles today. He said if Powell would lower this thing 2 points, we could save $800 billion a year from our budget. Instantly in interest. That's how much our deficit is. $800 billion. Now, where are all the people that have been screaming there's not enough in the big, beautiful bill of spending cuts? Well, there's $800 billion in spending cuts right there with Jerome Powell. Trump went on to say, when his term's over, it's over. I'm done with this. I might not. Can I appoint myself? Can I just be the Fed chairman? Because I'm smarter than this guy. I know what to do. I'll worry about inflation. Your job isn't inflation. It's my job. Lower it 2 points for me right now, and I'll take care of the rest. Well, he ought to take him up on it. If Trump's willing to put his presidency on the line and any future inflation, which is another reason he doesn't want to bomb Iran, is it could be inflationary. You take out enough oil refineries and limit the oil going around the world, it could be a problem. Trump is more hyper-focused on the economy, jobs, and money in the United States and doing deals with other countries and collecting tariffs than he is Iran. But the whole world's gone crazy the last 3 days, and Trump tried to refocus them that Jerome Powell is an idiot. This one stuck with me. Trump said we have the 38th lowest interest rate of the organized world, which I don't think they count as very many countries, by the way. I think the wealthy countries in the world, they stop at about 60 or 70 countries. And we're 38th. And he said we should be number one. We should have the lowest interest rate of any country because our economy is the biggest and we have the best ability to fight inflation. We do not have the problems that other countries have. There is no reason for us to not have the lowest interest rates in the world, and it would be good for business. And he's right, because Trump is always right. And he deflected today in an amazing way and went after Jerome Powell. I think Trump's finally met his match. Not that Jerome Powell would be remembered as great or do his job, whatever. I think he's met his match in the more he insults this guy, the more Jerome Powell is digging in and not lowering these rates. I mean, Trump could fire him. It'd be very controversial, and it just distracts from so many other things going on. But he could do it and get this done. In a weird sort of way, I almost want Trump to be able to think that he's going to say 3 years from now, well, look what happened after we got that stooge Powell out. You know, that first year we had all that interest we were paying, but now it's been less, and look what we've done. It will actually make it look better from his first few months on the job until the end of his job. It'll actually make it look better. But boy, did he unrail. He said some things about Iran today, but he really said some stuff about Jerome Powell. I mean, he went off on this dude, and it was epic. 913-408-7957 is the number to call. If you'd like to join the broadcast, I'd love to have you on. When we come back, I'm going to play something from you that is cringeworthy. It's two Republicans fighting. It is Tucker Carlson and Ted Cruz. It is the most squirming, smarmy, yucky thing you've ever heard, and we'll play it next on Uncanceled.
If it's happening in KCMO, it's on KCMO 95.7 FM. Here's Kevin Keatsman.
All right, before we get to that Tucker Carlson clip with Ted Cruz, we've got Gerald on the line. Wanted to talk about my opening comments, I believe, here. One other thing Trump said that was great, he was asked about Iran. He was asked, is it too late to negotiate with Iran? And Trump said, nothing's too late. And then he paused and said, well, only Jerome Powell is too late. It was just one of the greatest answers ever. Gerald is with us on KCMO Talk Radio. What's up, Gerald? How you doing?
I started listening to you here about a couple months ago, and I got to admit, I didn't listen to you much on the sports side, but I listen to you almost every day, and I like what you're bringing. But I missed out yesterday a little bit. I caught a little bit of what you're saying. I got experience over the weekend. I went to a VFW car show on VFW grounds, and they had people were flying a Mexican flag at the VFW. And I went over and finally confronted them because I told them I think it's very disrespectful to fly this flag on this property, and my dad fought for this country, not that country. And they didn't take it down, and nobody made them take it down. I just heard you talking about what these people are doing. Is that if they like it so much, then why are they not there and here, you know?
Okay, so these were people protesting holding flags, or you're telling me the VFW
they
put the
they wasn't protesting. They just had to fly in a flag on a VFW ground.
Okay, but it was a person holding it or doing it, not the VFW hall.
No, not the VFW hall. It was a person in the car show.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, man, it's okay if you did it maybe somewhere else in a car show, but this was a VFW car show on their property.
And when you confronted them, did they seem like they were understanding and maybe they'd made a mistake, or did they kind of get in your face and say, no, I did this for a reason, I wanted to provoke this?
No, their answer was, do you eat Mexican food? And I said, yeah, I eat Italian food too, but I don't go around flying an Italian flag, you know. But I go, are you socialist or are you a capitalist? And they didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
I said, well, this is capitalism. What we're doing here, I go, Mexico is socialism, and they want to bring that here, you know.
Yeah.
But they didn't have. I go, we get the freedom to bring our cars here and drive around our street. But I thought, and everybody was mad. All the veterans, of course, the veterans there were 70, 80 years old, you know.
Yeah.
But
I appreciate it.
I just.
Well,
thank you,
Gerald, for sharing your story, and I really appreciate you listening to this show. If sports wasn't for you, I totally understand that. Now, I love to talk about media and journalism and reporters and questioning, and I don't understand why Republicans now decide they want to fight with each other about Donald Trump and this Iran situation, because we haven't fired a shot. So far, if you ask me, on a scale of 1 to 10, Trump's actions have been a 10. It's been perfect so far, but I guess maybe Tucker Carlson feels a little bit like he's not in the mainstream like he once was. I think he's successful, obviously, what he's doing, and people are seeing it. But I don't think the people he's used to running with in D.C. are seeing his work like they did before. So I don't think he believes he's making the impact he once did. So Tucker Carlson, who I have loved and adored and admired, has turned to grandstanding, and this is unbelievable. He had Ted Cruz on his podcast. This is a clip where he starts grilling gotcha questions that is just flat out mean and improper. Get ready to cringe with Tucker talking to Ted Cruz.
How many people live in Iran, by the way?
I don't know the population.
At all?
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
How many people live in Iran?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah,
How could you not know that?
I don't sit around memorizing population tables.
Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government.
Why is it relevant whether it's 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that relevant?
Because if you don't know anything about the country...
I didn't say I don't know anything about
Okay, what's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Persians and predominantly Shia. Okay,
it's not even... You don't know anything about Iran. So
okay, I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran.
You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government.
You're the one who
don't know anything about the country.
No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump. You're the one who can't figure out if it was a good idea to kill General Soleimani, and you said it was bad.
You don't believe they're trying to murder Trump.
Yes, I do.
Because you're not calling for military strikes against them in retaliation. And if you really believe that...
We're carrying out military strikes today.
You said Israel was.
Right, with our help. I said we. Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them.
Well, you're breaking news here because the U.S. government last night denied, the National Security Council spokesman Alex Pfeiffer denied on behalf of Trump that we were acting on Israel's behalf in any offensive capacity.
No, we're not bombing them. Israel's bombing them.
You just said we were.
We are supporting Israel.
High stakes. You're a senator. If you're saying the United States government is at war with Iran right now, people are listening.
Okay.
Wow. I told you that would be uncomfortable, and you may not like it. Here's the problem with what Tucker Carlson is doing. My job as a talk radio host and people in the media's job is to inform, entertain, educate the public. Our job is not to sit here and sway politicians. Tucker Carlson has decided from a podcast microphone, he wants to run the country. And he's trying to influence politicians everywhere to see all of this his way. My message about Tucker Carlson and what he's doing is that's Bush League. I just personally believe, and I think the world of the guy, I think that's Bush League. If he wants to change American policy, he should join the cabinet, or better yet, run for president, run for senator. He lives in Florida now. Wherever it is that he lives, he can run for office. He can get in there. He can become president of the United States and do what he wants. Go win the election. But don't sit there and try to tear down the whole Republican Party and embarrass people that have supported Donald Trump because you disagree with what Trump's doing on Iran, which I don't know how anybody could disagree with because he hasn't done anything with Iran yet. That's the whole point. Tucker Carlson. Uncanceled continues on KCMO Talk Radio. Wait until you hear the stadium issue in Boston.
You're listening to Kevin Kietzman Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM.
It's great to be back on Uncanceled. Thanks for listening today and every day to KCMO Talk Radio 95.7. We are brought to you by bestofferkc.com, our friends helping you leave the hassle behind. They don't just buy houses, they help people through tough situations. And they even have options to get you cash early before closing. A family and lease summit got money up front to help them in a challenging move as they were seeking cancer treatments out of town. And they sold their house and they moved. And they got that done. An out-of-state daughter inherited her mom's house in Leavenworth one time and just took the stuff out of the house that she wanted, and Best Offer took care of everything else in the house and paid cash for it. It really is the best way to go, and they've never once backed out of any offer. The other guys can't say that. BestOfferKC.com. That's BestOfferKC.com. Call 913-338-SOLD. That's 913-338-SOLD for BestOfferKC.com, helping you leave the hassle behind. Well, they've got a little bit of a hassle in Boston. If you thought we had an interesting stadium situation going on in Kansas City with so many different possibilities for the Royals and Chiefs and politicians arguing over what we're going to do and will it be your tax dollars or won't it be your tax dollars, listen to what's happening in Boston. I just stumbled across this one because I saw this story and it was just like a news story about Michelle Wu, who's the embattled mayor in Boston. As you know, Boston, like a lot of blue cities, is broke. It was overrun by a lot of criminal, illegal elements. The ICE came and detained 1,500 in a 24-hour period a few weeks ago in Boston, and they're cleaning the city out. Obviously, Trump has targeted Boston as one of the places to go get. Well, there's a stadium called White Stadium, and this thing looks like it's about 100 years old. I think it was built in the 1920s. And they're renovating White Stadium, which is in very close to urban Boston. It's very close to downtown. They're renovating it for their women's team in the same league as the Kansas City Current that are going to join the league in 2026. So they're getting a women's soccer team. And this was going to be a $50 million project. And the city was going to be involved for half of it. And it's a complete boondoggle. It went then to $91 million that the city was going to have to put in. And now, according to the man who's running for mayor against Michelle Wu, it is $172 million that the city of Boston is going to have to come up with for a women's soccer team, something they've never had. Now, this is where it gets crazy. Who do you think is running against her? His name is Josh Kraft. That's right. That's the son of Robert Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots. They also own the MLS New England Revolution men's soccer team in MLS. And they're building their own new stadium close to the one that's being renovated for their MLS team, and they're privately funding the whole thing. So here comes a Republican in Boston running for mayor, which is impossible to do. You know how this works. And says, you know what? We own the Patriots. We own the Revolution. We're building our own stadium. We're using private funds to build our own soccer stadium. And Michelle Wu, your mayor, has botched this so bad. He referred to this. He said she has to stop hiding the ball. This has been catastrophic failure of city management. And he's right. Boston is now on the hook for $172 million for a women's soccer team that they don't even have yet. They haven't even played a game yet. And Boston's on the hook for $172 million. I mean, we think we got stadium problems in Kansas City. This is a fantastic ploy. And I would give anything for Josh Kraft to become mayor of Boston. Because if we can find the only one out there, and nobody talks about Miami, the only big blue city that got a Republican governor in is Miami. And he's young, and he's Hispanic, and he's bright, and he's personable, and he's got a great future in the GOP and in Florida politics. He is not a conservative. He's not far right. He's probably what you'd call a rhino, but he is a Republican running Miami, and their crime is down. Their police force is up. Their taxes are up. They're doing great things in Miami, and it's one of the best-run large cities in America. We need 2 or 3 more like that, where places like Kansas City can say, you know what? They put a Trump kind of candidate to run the city, and they cleaned it up. They put a business person in there. They put the owner to be the heir of the New England Patriots and the New England Revolution in as mayor, and he made the city work, which I don't think there's any question would happen. Michelle Wu opened her city up as a sanctuary city, and everything that happens everywhere happened there. But this is a fantastic pitch to the voters. We're taking no money. We're building a much bigger and better stadium than White Stadium that's being renovated. She's spending $172 million of your money for girls soccer, and I'm building the men's stadium over here with my own money. That seems like it might be pretty effective on the trail. I could be wrong, but I love that. There are stadium issues really in every town. We are not unique in that way. We're also not unique that teams get themselves into a jam sometimes in certain types of situations that require legal action. The latest is the Kansas City Chiefs, something Pete talked about an hour ago. And a former player, not in Kansas City, I don't believe, but then for 9 years he's worked for the Chiefs. I'm sure I've met him or shaken his hand at some point, but don't really recall. He was in player development, player engagement, not player development. Player development is the coaching side. Player engagement is more community and a personal side of what a player needs to be. His name is Ramsey Robinson. He's filed an 11-page lawsuit for wrongful discharge. He was terminated, tortious interference, and pay disparity because of race. And I will say this. It's doubtful he was wrongfully discharged. I'm guessing there's a reason the Chiefs wanted to get rid of him, and it doesn't take much to fire somebody, by the way. Tortious interference, I will listen to all day because I've had plenty of experience with the Chiefs where they do things like that. Plenty. It is exactly what they do. The Chiefs interfere with everything, everywhere. With businesses all over Kansas City, media companies, people that cover the team, vendors, employees, they interfere with everything. They're an NFL team. They're not unique that way. They're just better at it than others. They do it all the time. If you're telling me this man was terminated and the Chiefs kept him from interviewing somewhere else because they got rid of him and he was still under contract or a non-compete or whatever, that sounds legal to me, but it sounds awful. And that sounds like the Chiefs. They will do whatever they can legally get away with, even if it's awful and mean and immoral. They will do that. They're that business. You've seen all kinds of movies and shows and things through the years. If you're of a certain age, you remember an old TV show called Dallas with J.R. Ewing. Well, that's the Chiefs. They work like that. But they do it legally. The Chiefs don't lose lawsuits here. There is no way the Chiefs did any of this based on race. Let's clear that up right away. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know how courts work, but I think the first thing I do is let's take a look at the payroll. I want to see the total payroll of your organization for black employees versus all other employees. I'll bet it's 3-1. You got people in the front office making $50,000. You got crappy backup linebackers making $7.5 million. Pretty sure I know the disparity in pay in that organization tilts toward blacks. So he's going to have a really hard time proving this based on race. Now, the pay disparity is a provable issue. If they get discovery and they go in and they get payroll figures and they're like, okay, we see in the front office, we're taking the players out of the equation. We're looking in the front office that we have people working at this level and the white people make 15% more than the black people. He may have something. But it's not some big, giant, multi-million-dollar thing. He wasn't making that much money. And I do not believe, although I believe the Chiefs can be ruthless and tough in business as the day is long, I do not believe there is a racist element in that organization anywhere. I don't believe it exists in sports, period. My experience covering sports for 40 years, it is the most race-free zone in America. It is exactly what our founding fathers wanted. It's exactly what our laws that we now have on the books aspire to be, and that is a country that is colorblind, doesn't discriminate on your gender or religion. If you're the best person for the job, you get it. Unfortunately, the left took that way too far. We swung the pendulum to a place where that doesn't work in America. We have to hire people that are lesser qualified because they check some kind of a box. The Trump administration is working on that. I would wish this man very good luck winning his lawsuit based on race. It is provable if there's pay disparity. That would be the one area where I think I can't believe the Chiefs interfered with him getting hired illegally. I can't believe it. I mean, if he's under contract and there was a non-compete or whatever, then they're within the rights of the contract that he signed at one point. So that lawsuit, I think, is going to wind up being frivolous, and I doubt the Chiefs will really settle, and maybe it'll get dropped. Maybe a judge will throw it out. We shall see. This local story is pretty interesting. This is the city of Gladstone. We love Gladstone. And this is pretty funny because this involves a place that I'm literally going to be there a week from tomorrow, handing out free T-shirts with my podcast. We do every year, we do like a 4th of July thing. I make up these red, white, and boom T-shirts. We like to hand them out to listeners, and we look for a location to go hand them out. And it's going to be at this location in the Northland on North Oak Traffic Way and 64th Street next Thursday. It's located within Oakview. And John would be an expert on this, but I'm not. Is Oakview a really minor community? It's tiny. So it's like maybe Millhaven over by Mission. Okay, nobody's heard of Millhaven, but I grew up right by it. So Oakview is very, very small. But Pyro City has built its brand new fireworks store there. And they're open and ready to rock right now. And because Oakview is so tiny, and Gladstone is one we all know, you don't really know where Gladstone ends and where Oakview is. But if you spit hard enough and the wind's blowing, you might spit across the street from Pyro City into Oakview. And the people in Gladstone want everybody to know you can't sell fireworks in Gladstone and you can't shoot them off in Gladstone. They've got all kinds of codes against that. I just want to give props to Pyro City for building this that close to Gladstone, knowing what the rules are. Private business rocks. Private business can figure everything out. They found the village of Oakview, and they built Pyro City, and they're going to sell. This is their newest location. Like, Pyro City's got locations all over, right? So this is their newest location. I got to call these people and find out how hard they worked to find a spot in the city, because most places are like Lone Jack or, somewhere outside the city where they sell the fireworks. Man, they're right in the heart of it all in the Northland. They found a spot in the village of Oakview for Pyro City to open up in time for the 4th of July. That's just capitalism greatness. I don't know what to say. But the city of Gladstone is sending emails to all the residents. They're posting on all their social media. You cannot shoot off fireworks in Gladstone. You can't sell them here. There are ordinances like that. But the jurisdiction of the village of Oakview has an ordinance that allows fireworks sales. I don't even think you can shoot them in Oakview. I don't think, but there's an ordinance that allows them to be sold. And Pyro City is capitalized. They got one great location. They're good for them. I love it when your government working for you has to step in and let you know what you can and cannot do. All right, we got Jay on the line in Gladstone. Let's see what he has to say about this. Hi, Jay. Good morning. You're on Uncanceled. How are you, sir?
Good morning, sir. I live within walking distance of the new Pyro City, and I live in the city of Gladstone, and I think it's hilarious.
I mean, they're brilliant doing this, are they not?
Oh, yeah. Well, and the village of Oakview Park doesn't have a great reputation because they got a little police force that handles about 3 blocks of North Oak, and they probably run, 100 traffic tickets a week on their 3 blocks.
And that's what they do, right?
If they can make their money from taxes from Pyro City, that would be fantastic.
If you were to put a pin on a map of the single best fireworks sales location in the entire metro area, wouldn't this be it?
I mean, it'll probably make Riverside a little mad because they got like 400 spots right there, and Riverside's like a whole 3 miles away. So
okay. I'm just talking about rooftops and residents. You're nearest the most people to buy fireworks. I mean, that's a busy area. Yeah. That's a very busy area.
And as far as the city saying that you can't shoot off fireworks, I've lived in the city for about 20 years, and it sounds like Baghdad in the 90s, and I would know I was there.
Well, thank you for your service, Jay. We appreciate that, buddy. You take care, all right? That's fantastic. Sir. I think Jay sounds like he's good with it. He's good with Oakview, having the Pyro City, and Gladstone's just going to have to deal with it. One other news note before we have some fun and come back with Garner. They moved what is called, if you don't know, because this Iran thing, they've moved the airplane known as E-4B. It's a retrofitted 747. It's called the Doomsday plane, and we've had it for a long time, and they've now moved it to Andrews, close to where the president is, and they're going to keep it close to the president. This is the one that you can put the president, the Secretary of Defense, and the Joint Chiefs all on the airplane. It has EMP shielding, hardened communication systems. Dozens of people can live on this airplane in the air for days and days and days. They can just keep refueling it. So however much food and water they can put on that thing, the president can literally fly around at high altitudes and have Air Force support around him and be secure in the skies They call it the doomsday plane. And, I mean, that's just typical Trump. It's the same thing that Trump does. He wants everybody to know. Like our whole lives, things like that would be private. Nobody would know. Oh, don't tell anybody. Trump's like, let everybody know I got the doomsday plane here. Let them know I'm ready to just bomb the living daylights out of you and get on my airplane. Let them know. Keep them guessing. He's a master at this stuff, truly. Uncanceled continues on KCMO Talk Radio. Hey, here's a cool story you probably haven't heard of. Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, sent 4 jumbo jets to Cyprus to pick up 1,500 Jewish Americans that were on a 10-day birthright trip to Israel. And they boarded an Israeli cruise vessel to cruise around. And, of course, the war started between Israel and Iran. And they thought those people were in danger. And Ron DeSantis sent 4 jets, and those people are all coming home. They're flying from Cyprus to Tampa safely. That is really a solid move. I like that one. Let's check in with our guy Garner and see what's going on in his world. Did you see Salvador Perez hit 2 home runs last night?
Actually, my wife listened to the game, but I was working on stuff, so I didn't really pay attention to it.
Where is sports on your list of things?
Honestly, not very high. I do like the Royals. I do pay casual attention to the Royals.
Right.
I'm glad they lost. I'm glad they finally got over their 6-game losing streak. That's nice.
See, you're keeping track of them. You knew they had the losing streak.
Again, casual fan.
Salvi set the Royals record for multi-home run games, passing the great George Brett. Salvador Perez now has 18 games where he has 2 home runs or more. Pretty cool stuff. Were you aware that the Stanley Cup finals ended last night?
No, I'm not into hockey at all.
Yeah, most listeners didn't, but I would say this: hockey players are among the coolest athletes on the planet, and this is, forget the hockey part. Florida beat Edmonton, but that's 2 years in a row they've done that. The coolest scene of the celebration was at 1:45 in the morning, where the team captain, Sasha Barkov, came out in kind of like his underwear, everything you wear under your jersey and whatnot. Yeah. They've been in the locker room. They've been spraying champagne and beers. They've been drinking out of the cup. Everybody's gone. The arena's empty. The game has been over for hours. There are still people in the arena cleaning up the trash and people who work there. And he goes out all by himself on the ice with the cup and puts it down and starts clapping for all the people that worked in the arena all year. And they came out and stopped what they did, and I'm giving myself goosebumps. And they started chanting and clapping for him, and then they started chanting Panthers. Oh, it was really, really cool.
Wow, that's cool, yeah.
Out there by himself. It was a cell phone video that got out. Nobody knew that he was going to go do this. That's pretty cool. Hockey players are pretty cool. Oh, how about this? White girls are now picking on Caitlin Clark. You know who Caitlin Clark is, right?
No, I don't.
The female basketball player that has turned the WNBA into a thing. People are actually watching and buying tickets, but they keep beating her up. Like the ladies in the league don't like her. So we had Angel Reese with a fake racism claim that she'd been called the N-word and all this other stuff.
I remember hearing about that.
Yeah. Well, last night, Caitlin Clark got poked in the eye, shoved, and then as she was rubbing her eye, another player on the other team came up and knocked her over onto the ground.
Oh, geez.
One of the players got a flagrant foul. The other got a regular foul. And they actually gave them all technicals, including Caitlin Clark. I don't know why she puts up with it. I don't know why this league does that. How about this? Did you know Kansas City's first resort has opened?
No.
Margaritaville.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that. Okay.
They had the grand opening yesterday. As far as I know, it's the first ever resort hotel in Kansas City. There is no resort pool anywhere in Kansas City, correct?
Not that I know of. I think Schlitterbahn had plans to do that, but we don't know how that worked out.
And that's where this is. They took all the infrastructure
that's right. Yeah, okay.
They took all the pools and waterways and obviously all the water and everything there, and they built this resort hotel, and the resort looks fantastic. We are big time. We finally have a resort hotel.
And I like Jimmy Buffett, so.
Jimmy Buffett. There you go. How about Kelsey Grammer from Frasier? You know who that is?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
He is 70 years old, and he is welcoming his 8th child.
Wow. I think Al Pacino just had a baby, too, and he's, I think, 69 or 70.
People are nuts, man. That ain't for me. Nope. I'll stand for a grandbaby, but no more kids for Pod Boy. Thanks for listening to Uncanceled.